Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we are talking more about influencers, and this time we are talking fully about micro influencers and what they are and why you should use a micro influencer to promote your service or product. Now, as you know, I am a very big fan of using influencers. As mentioned in my previous video, the influencer industry brings in $255 million every single month. Now, I'm not saying that number to scare you, because it was actually found that the most common influencer budget is between $1,000 to $10,000 annually, which is actually a pretty affordable range, something that many entrepreneurs, many small businesses can fit in their marketing strategy. Now, I will get into this more in the video, but if you're wondering, well, maybe 1,000 to 10,000 isn't going to get me that much, well, this is why I'm talking about micro influencers, because yes, you can actually utilize a lot of micro influencers and move forward with a lot of micro influencer campaigns on a smaller budget. Now, as always, for the best marketing and content creation tips, make sure you hit the bell notification as well as the subscribe button so that you're notified every single time I release a new video every single week. Now, one of my most favorite parts about coaching clients with social media is helping them to see that these shiny, bright strategies, such as using an influencer to market your business, aren't something that are just held for the elite, and that actually businesses of all sizes and all stages can utilize influencers to market their business. Now, with that being said, let's get right into it, and you'll learn why you should be using a micro influencer to promote your product or service. Now, before we get into it, you might be wondering, what exactly is a micro influencer? Now, a micro influencer is an influencer with a smaller following. So that's a following between 2,000 people to 50,000 people. Some definitions even include a micro influencer having up to 100,000 followers. But I think for this video, we're going to say around 2,000 to 50,000 followers. Now, before I get into why you should be using a micro influencer to market your product or service, comment below and let me know if you are still on the fence about using an influencer, or maybe you are looking to use an influencer, but you're not quite sure which type of influencer you should be using. Should you be using a micro influencer, or should you be upping your budget and using someone with a massive following? I'd love to know. Leave a comment below and I'll be sure to reply once this video has been posted. So now that we know what exactly a micro influencer is, let's now get into why you should be using them. Now, to begin with, this is my absolute favorite point as to why micro influencers are so awesome, and it's because they are so niched down. So micro influencers a lot of times have not begun working heavily with sponsorships yet. So in this case, their target content, the content that they're producing, will most likely be targeting one single audience. So for example, they could be a fashion influencer, and because they have not grown so much yet, they haven't really diluted their content to cover more beauty and more maybe lifestyle. Because they have a smaller following, they are targeting their content to more of a specific demographic. So if you are a clothing company, this is an amazing time to jump on the back of that micro influencer who focuses on fashion content, because their following is already following them and is already in their tribe because they love clothing. Now, also because a micro influencer has a more niched down audience, they are often more creative and more willing to post in a more creative manner than, say, someone who is further along in their influencer career and perhaps has more stricter posting guidelines. If you catch them early on, they could be more creative in the way that they display your sponsored content. Now that we know that micro influencers are super niche down, they're also amazing because they often offer a higher engagement rate. And we know that we always want to be producing content that has a higher engagement rate, that will be shared by more people, and more eyes will ultimately see that content. So when you're working with an influencer, you want to utilize an influencer that will have a higher engagement rate so that your sponsored post, your sponsored post, which keep in mind you're paying that influencer to promote on their page, will reach more eyes. Now, along with this higher engagement rate, you'll also usually have a higher trust with their following because their content has not been diluted so much by partnerships yet, because they have a smaller audience, they're not doing as many partnerships, they haven't grown that much. Their audience will be more trusting of their opinions and of the sponsored posts that they share to them. This is why it's so important to get on in partnering with a micro influencer early on in their career so you can harness that higher engagement rate and more trusting audience. Now, my final reason why you should be using a micro influencer will most likely be your most favorite, and that is because they have a smaller budget. Now, Blog11 actually did a report, and it was found that 84% of micro influencers charge below $250 per sponsored post, and 97% of micro influencers charge below $500 per sponsored post. So that being said, if you have a smaller budget, definitely consider looking at working with a micro influencer. So now that you know why I love working with micro influencers, I invite you to watch this video here where I cover how you can determine the price of working with an influencer, as well as this video here where I cover other popular campaign ideas which you can implement with an influencer. Again, I hope you like this video. Please give me a thumbs up if this is the content that you want to see. Share it with other business owners who may still be on the fence about using a micro influencer. Hopefully this is enough to sway them into the field of working with a micro influencer. Until then, I will see you all in my next video.